All set? Okay. Karen, will you please call the roll?
Council President Paul M. Roderick.
Here.
Vice President Thomas P. Welch III. Councilor Terry Flynn. Councilor Christopher M. Logan.
Here.
Councilor Eva Teresa Santos.
Here.
Councilor Dennis B. Toronto.
Here.
Councilor Barbara Avon Villas.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Okay, number one is we'll get right into it, but I do want to say, because I know this is going to get old after a little bit, but it's nice to see people in town hall instead of Zoom. Okay, number one, memorandum of Rosemary K. Krager, Superintendent of Schools, in reference to Teachers Contract, NEAM, Teachers Association.
Motion to receive said memorandum. Sorry.
We have a motion, and a second to receive. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Good evening.
Mr. Brown,
Good afternoon.
right on cue.
Thank you.
It's kind of fun when everyone starts looking at each other like, who's next? What am I doing? Go ahead.
Well, it's always great when the school department's responsible for something in this room. This evening, the town council will be receiving a fiscal impact note associated with the contract that was recently negotiated between the school committee and the NERI NEAMS Teachers Association Group. We have representatives from the school department to walk you through the agreement, and I'll just add that Rosemary had provided the analysis to myself and the finance director earlier this week, and we had no comments about it. The results of the negotiations are consistent with updates that we had received through the budget process, so there is funding available within the budget, and for that reason, Mark, as a treasurer, and myself had no concerns from where we sit. So I think with that, if we could ask Rosemary or someone from her team to walk us through the analysis, I would suggest the council make a motion to receive the fiscal impact statement.
Okay. So I want to thank you for coming. It's, again, it's nice to see people. I don't want to put Chris on the spot, but I know since people are coming back in, some of the teachers are here this evening. We do have a new council member, Chris Logan, so I wanted to introduce Chris. Because, you might be looking at him and go, who's that guy, So he's the guy. Anyway, if you want to make that motion, Mrs. Santos, that would be great.
Motion to receive said fiscal impact state for the federal teacher contract, NEAM Teachers Association. Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, Rosemary, or just state your name and address for the record, please.
Certainly. Sean Clough, Situate. I'm the solicitor for the school department. Typically, you may recognize Ben Scungio. I'm here on his behalf today
Okay.
and representing the school department. Rosemary will come up momentarily to lead you through this. But just as a general introduction, in regards to these negotiations, they started in the spring. The administration and the negotiating team met with the Teachers Association over a series of months and negotiated this contract, and what they came to in terms of an agreement in light of the fact that the town and the school department is still recovering from and dealing with the ongoing pandemic. It was agreed that this contract would be essentially a rollover of the previous year with a 1% increase in salaries. You see that if looking through this fiscal impact statement that was handed to you and was slightly adjusted. I can assure you none of the numbers have changed from the document that you received earlier this week. However, there was an additional note, note 3, that was put in there just for clarification surrounding salary steps that are a requirement of Rhode Island general law. So I'll just run through this very quickly, and Rosemarie will certainly come in and fill any gaps that I may have left. Item 1, general salary provisions. Again, this reflects the 1% increase, and that comes to $160,000 approximately. And then there is a 0.2% increase, which Rosemarie will get into momentarily. That occurs at the end of the year based on certain conditions that may occur throughout the year. In terms of benefits, there was no changes to the co-share, and you see that as a $50,000 increase for a total change of $213 relative to the contractual changes that were negotiated. And then there is the required salary step increases as required by state General Assembly statute of $133,000. So that is kind of a very brief overview of the fiscal impact statement and the negotiations that occurred earlier this year. Again, I think that I think it's important to emphasize the fact that both the school committee and the Teachers Association throughout the negotiations really understood the issues that the community is confronting relative to the pandemic, and that was kept front of mind during these negotiations and why it resulted in this particular agreement. And for the record, both the union and school committee have ratified this agreement.
Okay.
So I'll hand it over to Rosemarie so she can clarify anything that I may.
So just first of all, thank you for tonight. Thank you for meeting and getting.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, when I was talking to Wendy about it, I think, no, Wendy, early in the week, and said, hey, we may need to schedule a special meeting, or Sean had asked me about a special meeting and the reason it's Friday, and I apologize, is because Monday's a holiday, and we wouldn't be able to have a special meeting till Tuesday, and we tried to get it in with the 48 hours between Tuesday and Friday this past Tuesday and today, for the open meetings law to be in accordance with that. So with the 7-day grace period, we wouldn't catch it on the 16th of our regular Monday meeting, so I appreciate everyone coming. And, you know, when you talk about teachers' contracts, you don't want to get close to that school starting date, you know, and still be up in the air. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, this special meeting as well, even though it's a Friday, we do.
That's okay. No one
So-
else had anything else to do.
Just to explain that point two, in your note, if the parties agree in writing to permanently dissolve, we have something called in our CBA with our teachers, a District Professional Development Oversight Committee, PDOC we call it. We always have little alphabets for everything in education. What this committee has done in the past, it's a district-wide committee. Each school submits their professional development plan. We did it in quarters and sometimes trimesters, so that this committee would approve what each school was doing. And it gets a bit cumbersome, and really with the new statute for principals having, you know, more control in their schools and school improvement teams, we agreed, both parties, to try this out until the beginning of June to see if their professional development that was occurring in their schools was quality professional development, met the needs of each school and our teachers, and the spirit of school improvement teams. So, as I said, the parties agreed to suspend this till the beginning of June, and if we permanently put that aside, we wouldn't be negotiating that in or out of the contract, and our teachers would receive a 0.2% on that June 3rd date or June 6th date. It's negligible when you look at that. It's $2,000, so it's really pennies for our teachers. Do you have any other questions that Sean or I can
I
answer?
do.
I have a question, too.
So okay, Dennis. So Rosemary, real quick so when Sean went down the impact statement, 1, 2, and 3, so do we need to add 2 to 3 for the total?
No, because well, when you look at total salary, yes, but the part that we negotiated, you don't negotiate steps because the steps are statute.
Okay,
Okay.
but the total increase would be 346,
That's right.
588?
That's right.
Okay, I just want to make, as I
No,
listened to
That's a
him.
good clarification.
Okay,
yes.
all right. Counselor Toronto?
Thank you. In regards to the, and it's Sean, is that correct? That's correct. Yeah. I think, Sean, you had mentioned in regards to superintendents and principals have new responsibilities now in regards to authority.
Yes.
So that was one of the bigger changes that happened on the state level, correct?
That's correct. I believe now it's 2019 that was enacted to be in effect in subsequent years, 2020, 2021. Several changes in terms of the authority structure within a school department. One major change was the fact that prior to the legislation enactment, school committees had hiring power. Now, that responsibility falls directly on principals to recommend and superintendents to make the hiring decision. Additionally, principals are empowered as, sometimes I get in trouble for saying this, as CEOs of their particular school building. And they work with committees, strategic committees, what was it? School improvement teams, thank you. School improvement teams that assists them with making recommendations relative to their school's budget, relative to hiring recommendations that they will then make to the superintendent. These types of things the General Assembly was trying to enact that mirrored Massachusetts to a great degree, and it allowed for our local administrators, particularly the building principals, more authority and ownership over their buildings. And it wasn't so much top-down. It was allowed for that flexibility from school building to school building.
So
the change that was made here in this contract is in line with that mode of thinking. And that is why that change was made. And as the superintendent stated, they are trying it out for the year, and it will, if there are no issues, it will dissolve come June 2022.
If there's no issues, what do you mean?
Well, if the school department and the teachers' unions determine that maybe that committee is in fact needed, then that might be reversed. But I suspect, and this is only my opinion, I suspect that likely won't be the case.
Right.
But this is just an innovation that's in line with state law. And again, part of the negotiation process, that give and take, there was a momentary freeze. If everyone's comfortable at the end of the year, then it will be enacted permanently.
Okay, because I kind of was a little bit in touch with what was going on, so this committee is relatively new to that, where there's a committee now that's going to advise the principal to do things a certain way, and the committee will also be making recommendations to the superintendent.
The principals make recommendations to the superintendent.
Okay.
The committee sits there as an advisory a committee typically, and I'm talking, and again, I'm talking generalizations under the state law. You know, there could be slight modifications from district to district, how they want to
Sure.
handle that. But generally, that's how it works. Rosemary, stop me if I'm speaking out of turn here in terms of how Middletown does, you want to step in?
So I think it's the opposite of what you're saying, Dennis, if I'm hearing you correctly. What we want to do is eliminate or freeze the PDOC, this oversight committee, before how it worked last year and the year before. The school would come up with a list of professional development activities that the school wanted to engage in. They needed approval for this PDOC committee. If the PDOC committee did not approve it, and it was a committee made up of principals and a central office and teachers, if that committee did not approve it, it would go back down to the school, and the school would need to redo whatever their suggestions were from that committee. What we want to do is eliminate that and leave decision-making at the school level, where it should be, based on the statute, based on school improvement teams.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
okay.
And then, just also there was, when I was listening to this, where these changes were being made, there were different responsibilities going to the principal, different responsibilities going to the superintendent, different people reporting to different people, and guidelines and measurements in regards to how are they going to be evaluated if they're doing a good job? What are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that they're going to be at the end of the year, look at and say, these changes with this principle were effective?
Well, principals are evaluated yearly. There's a form or an evaluation, educator evaluation, that I evaluate the principals. So they need to put in specific goals. They need to be related to their school improvement team. They're measurable in terms of whatever their goal is. Did they meet the goal, substantially meet the goal, did not meet the goal?
Okay.
And all of the metrics are there that I work with the principals
And
for
I think
that.
that's on the school committee level as well, right?
No. The superintendent evaluates the principals evaluate their teachers,
And who evaluates you?
the school committee,
So the school committee is involved.
yes, in my evaluation solely.
Okay, and you are evaluated through the same process that you have 5
There
or
is
6
not a
goals?
state format or a superintendent evaluation. I sit with the superintendent and have goals.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I sit with the school committee and have goals that are measurable.
So the school committee
School-
sets the goals?
It's a joint. I set the goals.
Can I just step in here?
Sure.
I'm not sure, I understand what your
Well, I'm
question. I'm
trying-
not sure what that has to do with this impact statement.
Well, just in regards to that, the money that's being used for this impact statement, and it was brought up by the lawyer to talk with Sean to, basically, I'm sorry, yeah, Sean, had mentioned, and I was just
Yeah, but we're
curious in
talking about
regards to-
performance evaluations and stuff, and I think we should probably
Okay.
stay clear of
Well,
that.
we can table it then, but thank
Okay.
you for your answers. You answered a lot of you answered a lot
Be
of my
transparent,
questions.
yep.
Okay,
So thank you.
thank you. Mrs. Santos?
Rosemary, don't leave. Would you clarify something for me? I have 2 questions. The 197 members, who does that not include?
It does not include our regional teachers. Those are special ed teachers who teach in a regional program.
Okay, but it includes the principals?
No, this just includes our teaching
Teachers.
staff.
Okay, just teachers. All right, my second question is, the 133 plus thousand, that is to be added to the 213?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes it the 346, 588.
We
Okay.
broke it apart because that's something we don't negotiate. It's statute, state statute, that teachers move up a step each year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I just have a question. So, before I ask that question, before I forget, Sean, want to make sure that we get the revised impact statement to Vice President Welch and Counselor Flynn, so that, we get to the next meeting, they've had plenty of time to look at it, call, ask questions, so that come the meeting of, because we're just receiving tonight, come the meeting of August 16th, that's when we could,
Right. The
during the
numbers
grace
did
period.
not change. I
Okay.
want to make that clear.
Yep.
But we wanted to make it just more reader-friendly. So the numbers did not change at all.
Okay.
The notes changed.
Were any teachers laid off or not
Yes.
brought back? They were. How many,
Yes.
how many of those?
So there are still 3 teachers that have not been brought back.
Okay. That means they may come back, or,
Yes, we're looking at enrollment. We're looking at certification. At
Okay.
the end of the day, there could be 2 that are not brought back.
okay. Sean, I have a question for you and the finance director. I'm sure you've been in communication with Mark about the impact statement. He's reviewed it, you reviewed it, you're good with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we've budgeted properly, I'm sure,
Yep, Rosemary and Cindy have budgeted for this, and the numbers are consistent.
Okay.
We compared it to prior fiscal impact statements and, the actuals that actually came through during those periods, and
And your team's comfortable with it?
yes.
Okay, and your team's comfortable?
Yes.
Okay, and the teachers obviously ratified it, so they're comfortable with it. Okay, any further questions?
Just a
Yes,
statement.
Counselor Logan, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you to the administration and the teachers for coming together and considering the community and the impact that we've had to come to this agreement for this year. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We will see you on the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, excellent. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to go into executive session, because that's all we really had tonight. Something's come up recently that we need to discuss, so we'll just wait till you go, and we'll see you guys on the 16th. And thank you, Sean, Rosemary, teachers, school committee, and finance. Enjoy your weekend and be safe.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Sean.
Motion to receive open session and reconvene in executive session. Second.
Motion and a second to recess open session and reconvene executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All set, Pete. Oh, you're waiting. Absolutely.
Okay? And that's